So we're finishing the amazing and beautiful and inspiring and demanding speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1992, the last speech that he gave to his shluchim, to his emissaries, representatives, that scattered all around the world, that all gathered together for this convention. This which happens every year. It happens every year. On the Shabbat right before the month of Kislev. Kislev, by the way, in Chabad especially, is a very special month. First of all, for the Jewish people, it's a special month because of Chanukah. Chanukah is the holiday of, we call it of light. When the Jewish people were under Greek control, and the Greeks, the world was under Greek control, and the Jews were just part of them. And the Greeks were basically, very, very cultured people. To a certain degree, they planned to maintain their hold on the world through culture. They didn't have enough men to control all the populations that they had conquered, the Greeks. So they figured they would just show the people how superior they were, and everyone would follow them, which I don't know how long that worked. But with the Jews, it certainly did work. Certainly did. The Jews loved Greek culture and Greek thought and Greek freedom and appreciation of pleasure and beauty in this. But there was just a handful of Jews that didn't want to comply. A bunch of, Meshugoyim, crazy people. And they fought, just a handful. It says that the Rashi brings in one place that there was only 13 Maccabees, and they fought against tens of thousands of the Greeks. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe points out that the rest of the Jews, what were they doing? They were opposing, they were on the side of the Greeks. They were also opposing the 13. They didn't just sit around idly and ignore the whole thing. They were actively fighting on the side of the Greeks, actively or passively, whatever, but they were on the side of the Greeks. And that was the holiday of Chanukah, that these few won against all odds, and that they sanctified the work in the Holy Temple. Which the Holy Temple, the work in the Holy Temple itself made no sense. Making all sorts of sacrifices, lighting candles, and all these rituals, and what's the point of that? But that's the essence of the Jewish people. Those rituals are not just empty man-made practices. This is God Himself wants this. All the Jews knew it down deep, but they also knew that the Greeks were ruling the world, and nobody wanted to come out of the safety zone. So that's the whole holiday of Chanukah. And also in the month of Kislev are two other main holidays of Chabad. The Yutet Kislev, that was the day that the first Rebbe of Chabad, the one who wrote the Tanya, he was released from after 53 days of imprisonment in Tsarist prison. With that story is also sort of like the holiday of Chanukah. All the religious Jews were against him. They put him into prison. They informed on him, whatever. They slandered him to the government. Anyway, so he sat there which we'll tell that story soon. And then there's the 10th day of Kislev, which was the day of the freedom of the second Rebbe of Chabad from prison, the son of the first Rebbe. He was free of the second. And also the day before that was the day that he was born and passed away. The second Rebbe of Chabad was called Dvar. And also it is on the first day of Kislev was the day that the first Rebbe of our Rebbe of Chabad, the last Rebbe of Chabad, was he emerged healthy from his heart attack. He had a heart attack in 1978. So that the first day of Kislev is also a big holiday. Okay, but let's go back. Here we are. The Rebbe is now speaking to these Shaluchim. And he is saying that you've all gathered together. I'm giving you my speech and telling you what to do. What do you have to do? Only one thing. Receive Mashiach. It says all the work has already been done. Everybody, the quantum mass of Jews has already returned back to God. It's going to be easier going now, especially in our generation. But that's the whole thing now, is just to bring Mashiach. Finish off what Abraham began when he started Judaism. Finish it off. Now Judaism is entering into high gear. Mashiach, that's the whole purpose of Judaism. And what is Mashiach going to do? He's going to really activate everybody. He's going to make everybody do much more work, inspire everyone to serve God. No one's going to be lazy. Nobody's going to be depressed. No one's going to be sad. No one will be addicted or angry or this. It's going to be a good world, positive world. So here we go. All this with all this we can add on now in our generation, especially. Asher nosaf chirush, in addition to the thing of shlichus, we did this last time. In addition to the fact of shlichus that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe appointed all of these emissaries, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he sent emissaries the whole world. Were the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He sent emissaries to Morocco and Tunisia, where the French influence was already setting in. And he saved who knows how many hundreds, thousands of Jews over there. Like we see, now it's very easy, it's much easier to explain to a Jew, even a Jew that before this had no connection to anything in Judaism or to God or to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's what he thought, nothing revealed. In addition to his personal service of God, yesh lo gam et achrayut liot shliach, to explain to another Jew that not only should he wake up to Judaism, but this other Jew, this Jew that is totally unaware of what it means to be a Jew, you have to wake him up, not only to wake him up to his Jewish soul, but that he should go and wake other people up. Lashpi al acharim, that he should go and wake others up. Beginning from his household, his friends, his acquaintances, and anyone that he can have any influence on them, that every Jew has to become a shliach, every Jew has to become a representative of the Rebbe, and not only just to activate himself, but to make other representatives as well, to activate others. This especially is added now regarding to those people who merited to chosen to be shluchim of Nasi Dorenu, to those people who were actually chosen to be officially shluchim, those who now came to that convention, all of their service in the whole 24 hours of every day is 24/7, 30, 365 is totally devoted to just doing what the Rebbe wants. Whether it was the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe or this Lubavitcher Rebbe, spread out Torah, spread out Judaism, spread out Chassidut as far as possible to bring the redemption. How much more so when all these shluchim, all these representatives of Chabad, these emissaries, are all coming together. They've come from the four corners of the earth together to New York, to the Kenes HaShluchim HaOlami, to the Asher Kinus L'Tzadikim Noah Le'em V'Noah Le'olam, that when Tzadikim gather together, it's good for them and it's good for the world. As Mevi B'Hadavar Hana'a Emitit, this brings true satisfaction. holy satisfaction to them and to the whole entire world. And in Hebrew, the word for world also is the same letters as concealment, that it removes the concealment of the concealment of good. The fact that the good and the meaning and the blessing in the world, it's here, but it's just concealed. That's the way God made the world, in order that we should remove it. Ubafrat, that was the whole thing of the circumcision. That was why Adam was put here in the world, in order to work on it and to protect it. Of the Lashamra. Ubafrat, and especially this is a Shaliach Ulitmate. This is the representatives from all over the world, that all the whole four corners of the world, their service. Somebody said that every place that there's Coca-Cola, there's Chabad. Of course, I mean, I don't know if that's true. I think there might be places where there is no Coca-Cola and there is Chabad, could be. But one thing for sure, the Coca-Cola is there, and Chabad are also there for a reason. They're both there for a reason, and for a similar reason. What's a similar reason? People around the world are thirsty. God created everybody, and with the thirst, people drink. People are thirsty. And it's the same exact thing with Chabad. Everyone is thirsty. Every Jew is thirsty for Torah and the commandments. Every Jew is thirsty for genuine Judaism. And it could be that they get detoured, or they get fooled, or they get tricked, or they never were educated, and they don't know what this feeling is inside of themselves, so they just shelve it. But it's there. Everyone is thirsty. Every Jew is thirsty for God. So that's why they say Chabad is in this everywhere where Coca-Cola is, because it's already there. Coca-Cola is just providing a need that people have to drink. People want to drink. They're thirsty, they want to drink. And they want to drink something that's tasty. That's tasty. So that's the and also the Coca-Cola has made itself, tasty or whatever it is, appealing. So Chabad it's also making itself appealing, but the main thing is to satisfy the thirst that every Jew has for Hashem and for Torah and for the commandments. And this is also it always happens in this week's Torah portion, to make a dwelling for God in the way of the unifying of these two names of God, Ma, which is spiritual aspect of God, and Ban, and the physical aspect of God, to unify them together. And that's what happened in this week's Torah portion, with Yitzchak, who represents this godly name of Ma, and Rivka represents the godly name of Ban, as we explained in the previous classes. And this itself, this is relevant to the Shluchim convention, the convention of the representatives of Chabad every year. But in this year, there's especially a big novelty in this year, because the connection to Shlach Na B'yad Tishlach, namely the Shlichus of the Moshiach. What did we say before? What did the Rebbe say before? That Moses was at the burning bush, and God was trying to convince him to take the Jews out of Egypt, and he didn't want to go. He thought he was not capable of doing it, and that it was insufficient, and that God said. And so finally, God is trying to convince him. 7 days, it says, that he was there. And finally, Moshe says, okay, send and the one, whoever you want to send. Send, in other words, send somebody else. That's what Moses said. Shalach na, send, please, biyad tishalach, in someone else that you're going to send. Don't send me. So the Rebbe says, and other explanations also, other commentaries, they say, what was Moses saying? Why are you sending me to take the Jews out? You're going to have to just do it again and send the Mashiach, right? This redemption that I'm taking the Jews out of Egypt, it's not going to be final. First of all the Jews don't want to go out. It says that 4/5 remain back there. And not only that, they're going to make a lot of trouble in the desert. I see what's going on over Moses says you're going to have to send the Mashiach anyway in order to take all the Jews and gather them all to the land of Israel in a final way, just like you're doing with me, beginning the process. You're going to have to send Mashiach another one. So he said, Shalach now biyat Shalach. Don't send me, send Mashiach. You're giving me these powers to take the Jews out of Egypt. So send the Mashiach that he's going to have more powers than me, and he can convince everybody that they'll want to leave. Everyone will leave, and they'll go to Israel, no problems. Why don't you do that? So that's what he was requesting. He was saying, don't send just me, send right now, send Mashiach. So the Rebbe said that he succeeded. Well, how did he succeed? That he succeeded in combining in the Mashiach his quality also. What was his quality? Moses, his thing was Torah, bringing the Torah down to the Jewish people. What was the thing of Mashiach? Mashiach will be like King David. He'll be a king. He'll elevate the people. He'll elevate them all. So Moses succeeded in unifying these two things, which that basically is the unification of Ma and Ban, like we said before. Ma is this aspect of God that comes down. I want to call it the masculine aspect of God. That corresponds to this numerical value of 45. That's the name Ma. And the thing of King David is elevating the world from below to above. That's the feminine aspect, elevating the Jewish people. The Jewish people are God's bride, right? So, but that's the whole idea of bringing Mashiach. And the Rebbe is saying that's what's happening now. We are now fulfilling this request of Moshe, which is going to get fulfilled anyway. Here it is. But it all depends on us. Shekava Kedush, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he's the leader of our generation. He announced, Shekavar Semo, that we already finished all of the work. Everything is prepared. Everyone is, just look at the world. There's no powers today that stand against Judaism, right? There was the Greeks, there was the Romans, that you couldn't do Judaism in the time of the Greeks. You couldn't do Judaism, right? Even in the time of the Nazis, the Germans, Yamach Shamam, in the time of the communists, you couldn't do Judaism. You couldn't, they would catch you, they would kill you. Now there's no such thing in the world. Everywhere in the world you want to, you can be a religious Jew. Nothing will stop you. Even in the Arab countries that claim Iran, right? You can be a religious Jew there. Everywhere in the world. And it says the world is it's already prepared, it's ready. The problem is that the Jews are not prepared. The Jews, they're not prepared. So that's what we have to do. All we have to do is just turn everybody around so that they see what's going on. To receive the face of the Mashiach. Mashiach is already here and the work has already been done. Kafisha Roimzos, like we see many times, Gambakach. You just take a simple example. The Jews are now living in Israel. We have Israel, we can do what we want to with Israel. They can do with what they want with the country. But they lack courage and they lack direction and they lack an idea. And what do they bring on themselves? The Israeli government, it brings on themselves, they invite all these missionaries to come in, all these weird, what are they called, cults and Scientology, all this crazy stuff to come in and just destroy people's minds and hearts and souls. Right? They give land away to the Arabs. It's just insane. Right? They have encourage these crazy, what is it called, decadent marches and things like that, and they encourage it in the schools. They bring it on themselves. Right? They're free to. So therefore, we see that all that has to be done. All that has to be done is just sort of wake the Jewish people up a little bit, just to shake them, turn them around, redirect them. We can see that there's already many, many signs of the redemption. This the Rebbe said in 1992, and this was right after amazing miracles that had been done. The Iron Curtain just fell like that, nothing. Saddam Hussein from Iraq, he shot 39 missiles into Israel, and they brought down whole entire apartment buildings, were hit and brought down. And no one was hurt. No one was hurt. It was just, he shot missile after missile. They were direct hits, and none of them hurt anyone. Everyone sees that God is with us, except for the Israelis. Okay, so it says, that's what it says. We can see, the time of redemption has arrived. what we see also now, especially now we can see, this is especially relevant now, says that one of the signs of the future redemption is that the nations are threatening one the other, especially Medinas Aravim, especially the Arab nations, especially what we see nowadays in many places that the Jews make these peace, this was back then, they make these peace accords and things like that, and they announce that they're ready, prepared to give up parts of the land of Israel for peace. And when we finally, and all of a sudden they see that the Arabs never had any intention for peace. They don't even know what it is. Kavar Niskayim, it's already been, and this is the year Tavshin Nun Aleph, which is the year that have been miracles, like I said, the Iron Curtain fell, etc. And in addition to this year, it continues. This is a year that will niflaot b'ba. We can say that this year is pilaot, amazing miracles. Tav Shin Pei, Tav Shin Pei, Beit. Oh, Beit. It will pilaot bo. Amazing miracles will happen this year. Betocha, the amazing miracles which will miracles miracles that become that form the whole identity and the soul of every single year. Miracles, Tavshin Pei Aleph, year of miracle. We see how it is that the Mashiach is fighting the battles of God, and how Mashiach is winning the battles of God in many, many ways, and especially in this. And it's going to be a war of peace. What does it mean, the war? Fighting against all these forces that oppose Judaism. How do we fight? By education. That's our weapon, is education. And the Rebbe says there's been victory. I mean, especially you see in Israel, I mean, there's people now in Israel that have become totally religious and nobody even knows about it. They walk around without a kippah, but they keep Shabbat and they put on tefillin every day, and their wives go to the mikveh and light candles, everything. They're just ashamed of their friends. They don't know that their friends are also doing the same thing. The friends are ashamed of them, and they're also doing the commandments. This is that Mashiach is going to Natseach, win. The revelation, that's the letter Nun, revelation of what's called the 50th gate of understanding. And Tzaddik, this is the 90th year. This is the 90th year of the Rebbe's life, the Rebbe's 90th year. Like they call this. This will be the year that Mashiach will be revealed. From this, it's understood that since that all these emissaries are all standing already for a long time, and they've finished the service of Shaliach, the spreading out Torah and mitzvahs in every place in the world. I mean, it's unheard of. Nowadays in Russia, we're just, a few years ago, 30 years ago, it was just forbidden to spread out Judaism. You couldn't even get out of Russia. Now it's just totally free. You can go in, you can get out, you can spread Judaism everywhere you want to. Even the Putin, the prime minister over there, he encourages it. He's possibly the first prime minister in the history of Russia that wasn't an anti-Semite. I don't know if he likes Jews or not. I mean, he certainly seems to, but he actually encourages the Chabad houses. Maybe it's a political stunt or whatever it is. But the fact is that after all, he encourages it and he helps them. In Moscow, there's a huge Chabad center. It's a big synagogue. It's like 5 stories, huge, and it's right opposite the KGB offices. And there's the KGB guards are guarding the place. The guy, we've already fit. We're close to finishing. We have finished the main purpose of the shluchim and the shlichos, and that is to prepare the world for the Mashiach. Now we have to prepare the world just to accept Mashiach. Nevertheless, because in fact, we see that Mashiach actuality has not brought the redemption. So we have to say that must be something left that we have to do in order to actually bring the Geula B'Poel. Everything is ready, yes, everything, but still, it's not there. What do we have to do? Says the Rebbe. I mean, we see that there's still confusion, deep confusion among the Jewish people. We still have enemies. The redemption is far from here, right? Not just the Jews don't live in Israel. The Jews in Israel are trying to make Israel into outside of Israel. So what are we supposed to do? Says the Rebbe, Al Pi Yedu, it's known that every generation there is one person that he is fitting to be the Mashiach of that generation. One person that in his righteousness, he could be the future Redeemer. And when the time comes, God will tell him and he'll send him. This is according to this comes from the Khatam Sofer. Let's see, one second, where is this? It brings it down. 106, here it is. And the Bartanura says that. And also the Khatam Sofer he brings in Choshen Mishpat and Sdei Chemed and other places. They all agree that every generation there has to be someone who is fitting and ready to be Mashiach, and he's just ready to come, just waiting for God. So the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he is the main emissary of God in our generation. He's the Mashiach, the only Mashiach in our generation, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he announced that we've already finished everything. And so now it's understood that now we have is the time that will be fulfilled what Moses requested from God, Shalach na bi'ati shalach. Don't just send me, said Moses. Moses, send the Mashiach also with me. And who is that? Previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And with this, it's understood. And of course, the Rebbe always said that he is nothing more than just a continuation of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. So here, the Rebbe is announcing in public that he's the Mashiach, which I don't know why he has to announce it, because it's an obvious thing. It's just the Maimonides lists all of the criterion for Mashiach, and all those criterion fit Lubavitcher Rebbe. Maybe it fits somebody else, could be. I mean, nobody's found who that somebody else is, but they all fit Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rambam says it's a mitzvah to not just believe in him, but everyone has to be anticipating this person to come. The only thing, therefore, because the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Mashiach of the generation. So the only thing that's remaining to do, previous Lubavitcher Rebbe picture. The only thing remaining to do is receive the face of the Mashiach. Just be ready to accept any second now. The huge changes are going to occur in the world. For sure it's going to happen, but just don't say it's going to happen a long way down the road. Right? We've already waited 2,000 years. There was some so-called, person said, we've already waited 2,000, we'll wait another 2,000 years, right? There's a little voice inside of everybody, a little Amalek that says the same thing. Says the Rebbe, don't say that. That what we have to be ready, the Mashiach is going to change the world immediately in order that we can do the shlichus immediately and take the Jewish people from the exile. This is, somebody told me, I just read something that, the Judaism, like in Poland, was very, very successful. It was very thriving. There were a lot of millions of religious Jews lived in Poland. There were other groups also of Jews, but the Jews, all of a sudden, one day, the Nazis attacked from nowhere. They just attacked Poland. It was just all of a sudden, whoop, and everything changed. Well, the Havdil, it's going to be the change, the opposite. It's going to be the same thing. And instead of there all suddenly occurring all this bad, suddenly there's going to occur all this good. And people, instead of killing each other, people will help each other, and people will be interested in understanding how the best way to achieve peace and brotherhood and the value of every human being in the whole world. This is especially in this week's Torah portion, that in it we're reading about the Shaliach of Abraham, that he sent Eliezer to marry Yitzchak and Rivka, that this gives the power to every single Jew to be a Shaliach, just like Eliezer was, and especially the completion in of Mashiach, which is the Mashiach, which is the completion of being a Shaliach, which is to bring the Mashiach. Like we said before, the word Shaliach, emissary, if you add the 10 powers of your soul, Shaliach plus 10 equals the gematria of Mashiach. In addition to this, this Shabbos Mevorchin, now we're blessing the month of Kislev. Kislev, this is the month of redemption. Like we said, this is the month when the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. That was the beginning of Hasidut Chabad. Actually, it's called the giving of the inside of the Torah. And the third month of the year, of the months of rain, just like the third month in the summer months is the month of Sivan, when we received the Torah Mount Sinai, as also this is the third month of the winter months when we received the inside of the Torah, Yutet Kislev. That was the day that the first Rebbe of Chabad was released from prison, and then he started writing Chassidut in a totally different way. And to add that now this is the third month of the rainy season in Israel, rainy season. This whole idea of rain, this is especially connected to Shlichus and of Mashiach. Why? Because what is rain? Rain does not fall from heaven. Rain is a result of the evaporation of water from below. Like it says that God created the world and there was no rain because there was no man to work on the ground to pray. And when man was created, then it says that evaporation came from the earth. And then from the earth, that's this level, we said, this level of ban. Namely, from the earth, that's where rain comes from. Rain comes from evaporation from the earth, namely the soul in the body, the physical. This makes from the physical, it makes it from the mundane, crass, it makes it physical. From the physical becomes an aid, becomes spiritual. And that this lifts up Ya'aleh. This is what happened. Look in the creation, in the beginning of the creation of the world. It goes higher and higher it's even higher than this level, what it says in the beginning of creation, that the Spirit of God is floating on the face of the water. This is the spirit of Mashiach. Spirit is spirit. But the idea of Mashiach is that it's supposed to come down into this physical world. So first of all, the world elevates. We, the Jewish people, do what God wants. That elevates power to God. That's from below to above. And then after that, godliness comes down from above to below. That's the Mashiach. Says the Rebbe, the same thing with the previous Rebbe. The previous Rebbe was here physically in the world. He went from below physical to become spiritual, even higher than this spirit of God that is on the water, the spirit of Mashiach. And then it comes down physically, but Paul Mamash actually in a soul, just like rain. So it says then the spirit comes down into the physical. So that's the whole idea of Mashiach. So that's basically the whole idea of what happened with the Rebbe, physical, and then he became spiritual like it is now, and it's going to be physical. However it is, Mashiach is going to come. From this we have a teaching that we have to learn, especially now in the Kenes HaShluchim. The first thing we have to go and announce to all the Shluchim that the service of Shlichus now for every single Jew, all of you, and also every single Jew, you're just my messengers to tell every single Jew that the only shlichus that's left over, the only mission of the Jewish people now is accepting the face of the Mashiach. In other words, all the details in the surface of shlichus, spreading godliness around, spreading the chassidut around, has to be done permeated with one topic: how we can receive the Mashiach. Every speech, every essay, every lecture, every class has to be permeated with Mashiach. Like that's the whole purpose of this Kenes HaShluchim. Kol Yamei Chayecha Lavi Limot Mashiach. All of the days of your life to bring Mashiach. What does it mean? All of the days, all of your time, all of your chayus, all of your energy should be only devoted to one thing: how to bring Mashiach, how to accept Mashiach, how to await Mashiach right now. Everything of a person's service, all of your days of your life, means every day and every hour has to be permeated, filled with only to bring to the days of the Mashiach, not just to include an additional thing or wait for Mashiach, but it has to be, you have to be proactive. You're a Shaliach in order that Mashiach should come, and not just waiting for Mashiach to come, and then you'll start to do your work. No, you have to bring the Mashiach. You have to do everything you can to treat as though Mashiach is here already. You have to bring to the days of the Mashiach. Go out and do something. Talk to another Jew about Mashiach. Dance, sing a song, write an essay, draw a picture, anything you can. Not just in the beginning of one day, but all of the days of the Mashiach, the days of the Mashiach. Not just when Mashiach already we're sure that this person is going to be Mashiach, but also that there should be the completion, Mashiach Vadai. The goal of Mashiach is what? To make all of the Jews return to Torah and the commandments, bring the third temple from heaven, gather all the Jews to the land of Israel when there's a holy temple there. And before that, fight the battles of God. That's the first thing. Fight the battles. So we see the Rebbe is fighting the battles of God. He's fighting against all the ignorance and fighting this. And the Rebbe is trying as hard as possible to convince Jews to return back to Judaism, changing the whole current. The simple meaning is that the Kenes of Shluchim has to come and to bring good resolutions, decisions, how every Shaliach should prepare himself and prepare all the Jewish people and prepare his place and his city and his country to receive Mashiach. By means explaining what Mashiach is, like it's written in the written Torah and the oral Torah, in a way that will be accepted by others, not just to go out and to say what you think. You have to say it in a way, think of how it could be more acceptable, right? You have to speak a little bit differently to children. You have to speak differently to women. You have to speak differently to men. Maybe you have to find somebody else to go and talk to them about Mashiach. But that should be your whole thought. To speak to every person according to that person's understanding, etc., and especially learning the ideas of Mashiach and Gula, and especially in the way of Chachma Bina V'das, to bring it into understanding. And because this is our service, so we can understand that this is relevant to every single Jew without any exception. May it be God's will. May it be God's will. Yehi Ratzon, that by means of the fact that every one of these Shaluchim sitting here will fill his job, his shleimus, with all the 10 powers of his soul, and especially that all of the Shaluchim should unite and should join in this. So it will bring immediately now the main Shaliach, the true Shaliach, which is the Mashiach, with 10 powers of the soul of the Mashiach. Like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shalach na bayati shalach. And again, just have to stress, Mashiach is going to be a king. He's going to convince people to do things that they don't want to do. He's going to be a king which will inspire people to do things above understanding. That's the aspect of King David. And he's also going to be a teacher like Moses. He's going to explain everything that's possible to understand to every single Jew and from the Jewish people to the whole world about God, about the Torah. Who is that? That's the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He is the leader of our generation, according to what was in the previous generation. That the previous Rebbe, he united with all of his fathers, that I said nitached with his father, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, that he was the single son in such a way that it was he completed the 7 branches of the menorah of all of the 7 generations of Chabad Hasidim before him, right? The first Rebbe of Chabad and the second, etc. And the main thing is, since we've already finished all of our service of Shlichus, so now we can all relate to the true sender, right? What's the story in our Torah portion? Abraham sent Eliezer. So Abraham, he was what's called the Shaliach. He was the boss. Says he's not the real boss. Abraham was only doing what God wants. The whole story is not the Rebbe, it's not the Moshiach. The whole story is God. And God decided that how is he going to, he wants to have a Jewish people and everybody's going to be different. And he wants these people to everyone serve God according to the Torah, but in their own individual way with all of their heart and their might and their soul. In order to do this, you have to have a leader, you have to have a king, you have to have a teacher. That's why there was King David, that's why there was Moshe. He says, but nevertheless, the one who's really running this whole show, who's sending everybody, that's Hashem. So that we can say to God, Asiti et shlichuti, I did what I was sent here to do in the world. And now it's your turn, God. You have to do what you sent us for. Also, God is also a shliach. Why? Because it says, Magi Davrab, when we do what God wants, so God, so to speak, he has to react. That's how we set the world up. So he becomes our shliach. And especially with these 10 sefirot, the 10 aspects of God's being, so God's essence, so to speak, will be reflected in the Mashiach. Shalach no bi'ati shalach. Send the Mashiach actually, the Paul Mamish, actually. That's the whole purpose of the Kenes HaShluch. And even if there is a little bit of a doubt, why? Maybe you'll think, listen, maybe God wants a little bit more exile in order that God will live, that will serve God in the darkness a little more. That the service now in the time of exile, a Jew has to say, Kol ma she'omer lecha ba'al habayis oseh chutz mitzeh. It says that if you're a guest by somebody, you have to do everything they say, the boss, the house owner, everything they say, except for leave. You don't have to leave. He says, you can say, I'll sit in a corner, I'll keep quiet, whatever you tell me to do, but you can't kick me out. The same thing is, God is the boss of the world. God can't say to the Jewish people, I'm not bringing Mashiach. Chutz mitzeh, chutz mili she'er od rega, chas v'sholom, and begalut. God can't say, I'll bring Mashiach tomorrow. We have to say, no. You can't kick me out, God. You can't evict me from your house, the holy temple, from the land of Israel. You can't evict me from your table. And therefore we can say to God, and we can demand, Shalach, like Moses said, Shalach na bayati shalach. We could do what Moses did. Send Mashiach now. It's already come. Yeah, because if you look, this is the Yad Tishalach, the gematria of Yad Tishalach is that year, Tav Shin Nun Beit. If you take Tishalach and add Yad to it, 14, it comes out to be Tav Shin Nun. This is the, it's already here. The redemption is already here. And together with the service of Shlichus. This will be the completion of marriage, like it is Shir HaShirim. King Solomon's song of love between God and the Jewish people will be manifested. The big wedding of the Jewish people and God together, that's the big wedding. until a way that says Nekeva Sovev Gever. It says that the feminine will be higher than the masculine, that this physical world will be higher than the spiritual, the body will be higher than the soul. So to speak, the Jewish people will be higher than God. God himself says to the Jewish people, to every single Jew, and to all the Jews, God's wife, the Jewish people, on their service. And he'll say, the Jewish people, even if the Jewish people are not the ultimate completion, what they're supposed to be, he says God will take every single Jew, his bride, into the land of Israel, into the holy land, into the holy city, into the holy mountain, into the holy temple, the third temple. And this, the main thing is, immediately it should occur, all of the Jewish people together with the creator of the universe in the land of Israel in the holy temple, and it'll all be done through Moshiach. And we just have to prepare the world and turn everyone's attention to this amazing miracle that's about to happen with Moshiach now. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. God bless you all. And we'll talk again on, here, let's do a Yom Yom. We didn't do a Yom Yom. That Tzemach Tzedek was arrested 22 times in the rabbinical conference in Petersburg for opposing the demands of the government. This is the time of the Tsar, regarding changes in education. The minister in charge said, you are rebelling against the government. This could be punishable by death. The Tzemach Tzedek said, a rebellion against the government could be punished by death, physical death. But a person that rebels against God is punishable by spiritual death. Which one do you think is worse? Have a good Shabbos, everyone. This is Shabbat Mavorchim, and the last Shabbos of this month of Cheshvan, and it blesses the next month of Kislev. May God bless us all with Mashiach now. And if Mashiach for some reason delays, as we'll have our class on Sunday morning, 8:15. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Yichya Adonenu, Morenu Rabbeinu, Melech Mashiach L'Olam Moed.